their best. So if Josh McDaniels come in, tell Baker, sit him down, hey, you remind me of Brady did when he was young. Just make these throws. These are the reads you need to make. Go to Odell Beckham and say, hey, I remember when I had Randy Moss, and at one time he felt like he wasn't getting the ball as much, but it won us championships because he was a decoy. I think that would make that team better. It would be somebody that they respect with Josh McDaniels coming in, and I think it'll be great for the team. And another head coach that is on the list that I think will be valuable is Greg Roman out of Baltimore. Yeah, just because you got to get him away from Lamar Jackson right now. Those two together seem unstoppable. And defensive coordinators are having, just a week in the division.
Just to make
exactly.
Sure
and if he feels like Baker Mayfield isn't a quarterback for him, go draft a quarterback. There's plenty of mobile quarterbacks coming out of college that can get the job done. So those two coaches, I think.
So you, just real quick to follow up on the Roman point, because I think Greg Roman's going to be an NFL head coach. Baker does not, to me, appear to be near the athlete necessary to take advantage of the scheme Greg Roman wants to run, what he did so successfully with Cap, what he did a little bit with Tyrod Taylor, and what he's obviously doing to historical success with Lamar Jackson. To you, it's on the board. It seems that the Browns, after next season, move on from Baker entirely, especially if they hire a head coach like Greg Roman that loves the roster more than the actual quarterback.
Definitely. Baker Mayfield isn't wowing the league with his arm right now. He's not wowing the league with his leadership right now. So what's going to make you hang on to Baker that say, I cannot move away from this guy?
Wow.
So definitely it's on the board with Greg Roman coming in to, hey, even if the quarterback's coach try to bump up to offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, Greg Roman knows what can stop that offense. You know, he has it inside out. And right now it looks like Baltimore is going to run that division for a couple years.
You know, when I watch this football team and I think about Baker, I think back to 2018, 27 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. He only got sacked 25 times. And obviously in all those categories, he took a step back this season. But if I'm a guy that can develop quarterbacks, Mike McCarthy, I think he can develop quarterbacks. I'm saying this is a great opportunity to go get my hands on a young quarterback and affect his entire career. I remember when I came into college, I had a coach, Stan Drayton, that coached me so hard. I had to go up to him after the first couple of weeks like, yo, do you like me at all? Because every time I see you, you're yelling at me, you're trying to tell me what to do, you're trying to change my game. Those things that he saw in me, he knew I needed to change so I could be a better player. That's the type of coach that Baker needs. He needs a coach that's going to say, listen, you have all these athletes around you. You don't have to be the superstar. Hand the ball off to Chubb. Get the ball out of your hands quickly to Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. You don't have to be the star by just holding on to the ball and throwing it deep as and far as you can. You have to be able to get the ball out and stop turning the ball over. A head coach can impact him. An offensive coordinator can impact him. He just has to find the right guy. This is a big decision for the Cleveland Browns.
It's probably the last big decision John Dorsey is going to be able to make.
That's right.
Because if Baker or this head coach don't work out, John Dorsey's going to be out of a job. He picked Baker. He's basically all in on Baker. He picked Freddie. We're giving him a mulligan on Freddie. This next one, he has to get it right. I am not yet, again, going to sell my Baker Mayfield stock, and I think the Browns are a very attractive job if you believe in Baker's body of work as opposed to this season. We've got to be a little more fair in evaluation of athletes when Baker has done nothing but not only achieve, but achieve at a record-setting level at every year of his career. From walk-on at Texas Tech, then his first year at Oklahoma, before he won the Heisman, he set the all-time efficiency mark for college football. The next year, he broke his own mark and won the Heisman. The next year, he comes to a team, Cleveland, a team that is coming off 1-31 over the last 2 years, takes over after a couple weeks, leads them almost to a 500 record, deals with a head coaching change midway through the season, an offensive coordinator change midway through the season, and still thrives. Now, this year, he has failed on all fronts. He has failed in how he's conducted himself. He has failed in his maturity. He has certainly failed on the field. But I want to give this guy who has shown us at every level he can succeed, even at the NFL level, more than 1 year of failure before you abandon it. And if you believe in Baker, this gets to your point. the talent on this roster is exemplary. Myles Garrett, I know we forget about him, and he's technically still suspended by the league, but I think he'll be back week 1. He is an elite player. Denzel Ward showed his rookie season. He could be an elite player, even though he took a step back this year. We know how good Odell is. We know how good Jarvis is. Nick Chubb looked like he was going to win the rushing title this year before Derrick Henry snatched it from him with 3 hours left in the NFL season. If you think the quarterback can even just be above average, then this is, to me, a super attractive job, and a job where if you get them to the playoffs, they might build you a statue. You don't have to go win a Super Bowl like you probably do in Dallas to be considered a success.
So then give me a name of a guy who can corral all that talent to get everyone on the same page, because it's a lot of individual personalities, which we thought coming into last season, we needed someone to take all of that talent and make them work in one direction.
I think a lot of people can do it. I think it's people that have been NFL head coaches before. And the one guy who has not been an NFL head coach who I think might be able to do it is Urban Meyer. Because Urban Meyer, I think he has as much credibility as a college coach can have amongst NFL guys. Because he coached a lot of guys who are in the league who can speak to him, because he coached at such a high level at such great programs in Florida, and forget Utah, but he did a great job there too, at Florida and then Ohio State. And also, you watch Urban on television, I'm just saying this because he works with Fox, you can see the presence he has about him. But if they don't want to go Urban, I do think Josh McDaniels would be a great answer. He has failed in one spot, learned from it, gone to New England. I don't think he is going to take the Cleveland job. You know, Belichick's dislike for the Browns, I wonder how much that has polluted, if you will, Josh McDaniels. But I think Leslie Frazier is not a sexy hire. He made the playoffs with Christian Ponder. He made the playoffs with the quarterback play at the level Baker was this year because of the talent on the roster and because of his power of personality, if you will, even if it didn't show in press conferences. He's now done a great job in Buffalo as a defensive coordinator. No one's talking about his name. That's a guy I would think about. You mentioned in the division. I'm bringing up another person that people think is a terrible coach, and I don't know why. Cincinnati. I'm sorry, Marvin Lewis, for what he did with Cincinnati. What would the Browns pay for 7 playoff appearances for whoever their next head coach is? Now, I know they were one and done every year, but they had the worst quarterback than their opposition every year but one. Someone who is a true professional head coach, which Freddie Kitchens just flatly was not.
They need to find a guy that can be a face of the organization so that Baker Mayfield doesn't have to be the frontline guy because of some of those maturity things. Until he matures and says the right things that the organization needs him to put out there, they need a guy that can talk to and mention all the things that the organization needs him to.
All right, let's take a break. Brandon, stick around. Coming up, can the Eagles overcome their injuries and win on Sunday? Add another name to that list of injuries. Next on First Things First. Means they are playing this week. How much of that do you put on Tom Brady, Nick?
Oh, an enormous amount. It is obviously not all his fault, and one could argue he put them in position to get the bye when he drove down the field against Miami to take the lead. And if the defense could just hold up, they would have a bye, and it would have just been a scare. Another bad Patriots game that Coach Mangini would say, but they found a way to win, so it did no style points. And so the defense, though, that had been carrying this team all year, finally had a slip up, and it cost them the bye. But the reason the defense has had to carry them all year is because of substandard offensive play, most notably substandard passing game, which falls primarily on the quarterback. And the one thing Tom Brady, even at age 42, does exceptionally well is take care of the football. The second half of the year, he only threw 4 interceptions. But what were those 4 interceptions? Because if he throws just 3 of them, if you take just one of them back, they probably have a bye. Here's the first interception against Baltimore. They're in the 4th quarter. After being down 17-0, they've clawed back in the game. They're down 10 at the point. They have the ball. Brady throws a pick. The Baltimore scores a touchdown. Game over. Against Houston.